Good evening. Tonight we are going to do the second pillar of the 12th pillar of Jim Rohn's book. It is called Live a Life of Health. And the subtitle is You Should Make Sure That the Outside of You is a Good Reflection of the Inside of You. The reason why I'm doing this is that book I've been reading every year around this time of year. And the past 3 years I didn't do it. And I was remembered by Ivan Cisco, my sponsor, that Jim Rohn had some very nice ways of explaining things, and this is why I decided to reread it. And I also made it a special twist. I'm recording it so that you can also listen to it. So here we go. The first chapter was all about personal development. The second one is going to be about more like your health, your wealth, and your spirituality. So let's go through that. So Michael knew that he would be passing by the estate where Charlie worked, so he called the number Charlie had given him and asked him if he could stop by. It had been 3 weeks since he had run out of gas in front of Mr. Davis' estate. In hindsight, Michael considered it serendipitous, allowing him a chance to peek into a world he had once dreamed of and now seemed so far away. The fact that he had met Charlie, though, and Charlie's willingness to share the secret of Mr. Davis' success was something that had started to reignite Michael's passion for excellence that had once burned bright. Certainly, life hadn't changed overnight, but he had been thinking about Charlie's words about changing himself and making himself better ever since the day Charlie challenged him. Michael realized that he had let himself go. He had stopped dreaming, he had become complacent. He was blaming circumstances rather than taking responsibility for himself and his situation. But he was determined to change all of that. Since that day 3 weeks ago, Michael had written down a list of 10 things about his life that he knew he could change if he applied himself. He looked at each day and tried to work on at least one of them, just to make sure he was acting on what he knew was true. They were small steps, but they were steps in the right direction. That was more than he had done for himself in years. When Michael had called Charlie said it would be great to see him again and invited him to swing by and chat. Michael told him that he had done since their last visit, and he was hoping Charlie would tell him some more about Mr. Davis. Charlie assured him he would be glad to. Michael thought it was somewhat strange learning about Mr. Davis from Charlie, but he realized that a guy like him was hardly going to get a chance to spend much time with a rich, powerful, and busy man like Mr. Davis. So he was happy to take what he could get. As he turned into the entrance, Michael saw that the gate was open just as Charlie said it would be. He began down the driveway and could see that Charlie was out in the garden to the right of the house. There were gardens everywhere on the estate, and Michael guessed it must take Charlie a good 20 hours a week to keep them up, if not more. Each one seemed to be perfect, mixed of colors, and was impeccably maintained. Charlie was meticulous, that was for sure. Michael pulled his car into one of the parking places next to the workshop and walked over towards Charlie. He looked toward the house, wondering if he would ever see any of the Davis family, perhaps even Mr. Davis himself. This day, however, he saw no one. The sun was shining beautifully, and when Charlie looked up to greet Michael, he held his gloved hand up to shield the sun. "Hello, Michael. Good to see you again." "Great to see you too, Charlie." Charlie motioned to the garden. "You don't mind if I keep on weeding and pruning while we talk, do you?" "No, not at all," Michael replied. "I'm glad you called to stop by. You were coming through anyway?" "Yes, I have an appointment this afternoon, but I wanted to drop by if you were around." "Well, I'm certainly around. What's on your mind?" I have been thinking about our last conversation quite a bit, actually. You have? Charlie asked, as he knelt back down to work on the flowers he had been tending to. What have you been thinking? Just about needing to change my life and work on myself. I have given up and just accepted mediocrity. I realize that I want more for my life. I mean, seeing Mr. Davis's house and all, it gave me a little vision of what I could become. Not that I will ever become as rich as or successful as Mr. Davis, but it showed me that more is possible. Does that make sense? It certainly does, Michael. Seeing what others have accomplished can provide you with a positive ambition of your own. This may seem strange, Michael said, but I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind telling me the other 11 pillar of success, as Mr. David puts it. I was thinking that from time to time maybe you and I could get together and you could tell me more about Mr. Davis and how he got to be where he is in life. I think that would be fantastic, Michael. I get the feeling that you are ready to grow some. I sure am. I guess it may be desperation. I am really just tired of living like I am. I need more, and I figure knowing someone who knows how a person can become so successful is as good a route as any. It is great. It is a great route, Michael. So what do you want to know? Well, why not just tell me the next couple of pillars? I am assuming you know them all, right? Sort of like the Ten Commandments? He said this with a slight chuckle. Well, they aren't quite the Ten Commandments, Michael, but they are important nonetheless, and yes, I know them quite well. I have 30 minutes. Next time, I'll schedule more time if you can't do it. But maybe you could tell me the next two today and I can begin working on them? Did you work on the first one yet? That's important because you have to apply what you learn. I did apply it. I made a list of things I can control and change in my life, and I have taken a couple of small steps towards improving. Very good, Michael. I'll be glad to tell you the next two then. Charlie saw a small weed and pulled it quickly from the ground and tossed it in the pile he had been building on since early this morning. Pillar number 2 is total well-being. Mr. Davis believes in what he calls three-dimensional health. What's that? Well, when you say health, to most people they think of your physical well-being. But Mr. Davis thinks of it as more than that. He thinks that a person is made up of three parts: the body, the soul, and the spirit. Three dimensions. Okay, I could guess, but you explain it a bit more than that? Sure. We have our body, that's obvious, but we also have our soul, which is basically our intellect and our emotions, also our will. And then we have our spirit. That is the part of us that transcends this world. It is the part of us that is designed to be eternal. The fact is that most people pick one of those and work exclusively on that area. Mr. Davis thinks we need to work on each area because they are interdependent. What do you mean? They pick one area and work on it. You have some people who work on their physical health. Now, don't get me wrong, we need to work on ourselves because for so many people that is an area they neglect. Have you ever noticed that some people take better care of their pets than they do themselves? Their animals can run like the wind, but they can barely make it up a flight of stairs. Those who take care of their physical health many times neglect the other two areas. Other people are all about the intellect and forget their body or spirit. And then there are the people who are so spiritual they are no earthly good. Mr. Davis believes that you function best when you live in a balance. Are you in balance, Michael? Michael looked down at his 40-year-old stomach. Not bad, he thought. Well, I'm in pretty good shape. I could work out a bit more. What about your intellect, your emotions, and your spiritual life? Charlie pressed. I admit I don't read much. I watch television when I have free time. That won't do you much good, Charlie broke in. Michael continued, as for my spiritual life, he just let it go because it didn't know how to answer. Cat got your tongue? Charlie kidded, looking up. No, I just don't do much with that. Well, it is very important. That the most important. Mr. Davis says that it is like a 3-layered onion. You peel each layer back until you get to the core. The spiritual is at the core, and it is the most important. Then the second layer is the soul, and the outer layer is the physical, the body. Each part rests on the one below it, and it is only as strong as the layer below. Make sense? Yeah, I guess so. So where do I start? You can start by going back to the roots. Did you grow up with any spiritual influence? Yes, sure did. Went to church every week. There you go. Start there. Read good material that will help you reflect on your spiritual life. That's a good place to start. What about your physical? I don't get much time to exercise. You need to start, even if it's just an half hour a day. You're married, right? Yes, I sure am. Ask your wife to go on a nightly walk for half an hour. She'll love it and you'll get some exercise. The idea is so to get started. Mr. Davis always said that we should take good care of our body because it is the only place we have to live. That's a good idea. Yes, Michael, you should make sure that the outside of you is as good reflection of the inside of you. If you focus on improving all of these 3 areas, the body, soul, and spirit, you will see that each one will get stronger, and the stronger they get, the stronger they will make the others. It all ties together. That's pillar 2. Got it. Michael looked at his watch and realized he only had about another 10 minutes or so. He wished he had given himself more time. So what is number 3? And that will be read tomorrow night at 8 o'clock again. So I hope you enjoyed this. This one was a little short. It's going to be like, the first one was a little longer, and then it's about, 10 to 15 minutes every night that we'll be reading out of that book. And every night we're going to be looking at a different pillar. So the first one was the personal development. The second one was like body, soul, spirit, taking care of that, looking as good as outside as you are inside. And this, I'm sure, like if I look at all those pillars, some I have been lacking, that's for sure. And by doing so every year, looking at this book, it helped me rearrange and redo special work that I used to do before. And I'm very happy that I started to do that. And I hope that some people are going to be doing the same. So we'll see you tomorrow night, and enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye.